rose, it is not only in the bird, not only where the rainbow flows, or in the song of the bird, but in the darkest, meanest things, there's always something to say. Tis not in high stars alone, nor in the cups of budding flowers, not in the redbreast's mellow tones, or in the roll of smiles and showers. In the mud and scum of things, there's always something to say. Tis not only in the rose, it is not only in the bird, not only where the rainbow blows, or in the song of the bird, but in the darkest, meanest thing, there's always something to say.
There we go. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Hingham, also known as Old Ship Church. I'm Clayton Handelman, a member of our Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are he and him. As Unitarian Universalists, we gather here as an open community that honors freedom of belief, encourages spiritual growth in ourselves and our children, and shares the wisdom of many religious traditions with reverence for the earth and in service to humanity. We gather here on the ancestral land of the Massachusetts peoples, the original nation of this land. We are mindful that for the Massachusetts peoples of every generation, this land is sacred. If you are visiting or newly attending our services, we would like to extend a warm welcome to you, and we invite you and everyone else to gather for coffee and conversation at 14 Main Street after the service. We have some guests. We welcome Bob and Carol and Corinne and Emily Conroy. Please note in your order of worship this week's schedule of events here at Old Ship. If you have any questions, please stop by our welcome table at coffee hour or talk to any member of our board. We have tags with the pink around them. We're happy you're here with us today, and we welcome you to bring all that you are to this congregation, your beliefs and your traditions, your identity, your story, and the wisdom of your years. You are welcome here. If you are looking for inspiration, comfort, or connection, we hope that you will find it here.
I want to add to that. I'm Edmund Robinson, the contract minister here, but I'm not going to be conducting services this morning. We're turning it over to an old friend of mine that was also a friend of many of you because he was active in this church for many years, Dylan Buston. And there's all kinds of connections that I could draw going back to the mid-1970s. With Dylan and me and my love of folk music and his love of folk music and activism in folk music. But we'll let that wait. Does everybody like this microphone better than that one? This one, maybe I was doing a little bit of funny stuff. The other microphone's better. Good. Okay. Dylan, please sing into the other microphone. All right. That's good. And so we'll let you do the call to worship.
For the call to worship this morning, I'll read number 661. This is a responsive reading, but I'll just read it through. It is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. everything in today's service is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. We're revisiting an ancestor, more on the Unitarian side of the Unitarian Universalist equation. He left the church. He resigned from the ministry to become a public speaker and an author, writer. He left over the issue of communion. He could not believe, at that time, Unitarians following the Roman Catholic Church still believed in transubstantiation, in which the wafer and the wine under the cover during communion actually turned into the body and blood of Jesus Christ. And Emerson felt like that was magical thinking, and he couldn't conduct the ritual. So he resigned. I think in the meantime, the denomination has caught up with him. And if he were alive today, he would be a Unitarian Universalist. Anyway, number 661. We have a great deal more kindness than is ever spoken. The whole human family is bathed in an element of love, like a fine ether. How many persons we meet in houses whom we scarcely speak to, whom yet we honor and who honor us. How many we see in the street or sit with in church, whom, though silently, we warmly rejoice to be with. Read the language of these wandering eye beams. The heart knoweth. So I rejoice to be with you this morning. And for the introit today, Jacqueline Schwab will play and I will sing a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson called Brahma.
If the red slayer thinks that he slays, or if the slain thinks that he is slain, they know not well the subtle ways I keep and pass and turn again. Far
Good morning. We light the chalice this morning in praise of music and of Gaia, our earth, and our home. And here is the chalice lighting from Star Island that our dear Ding Wilding Smith always began our Living by Heart poetry gatherings. Let there be light to keep away the darkness. Let there be wisdom to illuminate the unknown. Let there be love to heal our aloneness. And let each of us be a light for the other. Let each of us be a light for the other. Amen.
Our hymn is going to be number 79, which is a hymn by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Also, I've been asked to note that there are these CDs out in the back. They're going for anyone who wants to take one. This is Dylan's songs of Ralph Waldo Emerson. So you can take one home with you. Anyway, 79. Please rise as you're able.
Picture
morning. I'm Dana Kitzai. My pronouns are he and him. I could go on and on about why I'm here, but I won't. So the two key areas of which I appreciate this congregation and the people in this congregation are our dedication to democracy and freedom for all, equality for everybody. In today's world, that's a tough thing to say. I had a strange encounter with a guy yesterday. I'll talk about that later. But it's very important to me to have equality for everybody, no matter what your race, color, creed, sexual preference. You have to have equality for everybody. And the second piece of my desire to be here is I don't, even though we call this Old Chip Church, I don't really consider it a church because it lacks all the dogma of my past and many of our past. What I do appreciate about this church, these people in this congregation, is every week we learn something new about another religion and the happiness and joys we can share from other people and understand other people. Thank you very much.
I think I'm good. Hello, I'm Elaine Gomez. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a member of the pastoral care team. And now we're going to light our candles of joys and concerns. Joy shared is a joy doubled, and the sorrow shared is a sorrow halved. So raise your hand and please state your name, and somebody will trot over with a mic to you. I think it works. Yeah. Where am I going? Over there. Oh.
I'm Lorraine, and I want you to share in my joy. I watched my grandson with FlightAware for 16 hours plus while he took Qatar and then Oman Airlines. He has landed safely in Amman, Jordan, to continue his studies in the Arabic language.
My name is Simi, and one joy that I'd like to share, well, actually, no, wait, sorrow, is that school is starting soon, and soon there's a really big test that is making me very nervous.
Simi, you're going to do fine on the test. I'm sure you're prepared. So my name's Mary Murphy. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm here representing the Stewardship Committee. Janet Asnes and Susanna Thomas are on the team with me. And just want to share our gratitude to the congregation. You've helped us collect 55 pledges thus far, so we're incredibly grateful to you all. The campaign will run through April 28th through next Sunday. We're a little bit behind where we were this time last year. We, in total, for the pledge campaign last year, I think we got about 118 pledges. So we're at 55, so we're going strong, and we hope you'll help us finish strong by getting closer to the number we got last year. And we invite you all to come back to 14 Main Street with us. Just follow the crowd down around the corner where the fellowship team is hosting a themed coffee hour with tea sandwiches and sweet treats in our appreciation of the congregation. Thank you.
Janet Asnes, she, her. I'm just going to tail on that. Please join us for our tea party. Hence the Fascinator. But I have a joy as well. Our coming of age group is on tour right now at the UU at the in Roxbury. They're getting a tour of what we do as a denomination. They're getting a tour of what we do in racial justice. And it's just a small portion of what we do as a community. So I'm grateful for them having the opportunity, and I'm grateful for your continued support in our congregation.
Daveline Cooper, she, her. I'd like to light a candle to celebrate the life of Ruth Scully, a dear friend and former neighbor who died last week, who's been living at Linden Ponds, who had a wonderful life and died at the age of 97. And I'm just grateful that I got to know her.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline. I'm married to Reverend Edmund, but you haven't seen much of me this spring because I'm a working musician. And so if I'm not here, it's a good thing. And I even missed Easter Sunday. I was in Austin, Texas. And then since then, I've been in Minneapolis, and I'm going to North Carolina this week, and then California. So you won't see much of me this spring, but my heart is with you. And also my heart is with working with Dylan. And Edmund in the shower this morning was singing one of Dylan's wonderful songs that are well known called More Wood. And you really have to go check out his songs. He's a tremendous songwriter.
Hello, Eric Cornetta, pronouns he, him. A simple joy, a walk around World's Ends with my wife this morning. Wow.
Ellie Handelman, my pronouns are she and her. I just have a sorrow that I'm not joining Janet with the Fascinator, which I entirely intended to do, but I have been in a really bad mood all week. And I'm chalking it up to I have shingles. I'm not in a lot of pain with it, but I'm just deciding that's what's making me in a bad mood. And soon it will go away and I won't be so crabby.
Well, I have a joy. I thought it was that she was in a bad mood because I was home for my spring break this week.
It all happens here.
Liz Flint, and I just have a candle of gratefulness for having finished my cancer treatment.
Well, these candles will hold a lot of other. Oh, we forgot Zoom.
No,
We didn't
sorry.
forget Zoom. These candles will hold a lot of other joys and concerns deeply felt but unspoken today. It's fun to look at everybody from this angle.
Let's now enter into a time of silent meditation, and I will wrap that up with a prayer.
Let's do this reading as a group responsive reading. And Rich will lead this half of the aisle, and I'll lead this half of the aisle.
These roses under my window we're all in this together. Oh, I'm sorry. Number 556 in your hymnal. Are we ready? Okay. These roses under my window make no reference to former ones or to better ones. They are for what they are. They exist with God today.
There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence.
Before a leaf bud has burst, its whole life acts. In the full-blown flower, there is no more. In the leafless root, there is no less.
Nature is satisfied, and it satisfies nature in all moments of life. But we postpone or remember.
We do not live in the present, but with reverted eye, lament the past, or, heedless of the riches that surround us, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future.
We cannot be happy or sorrowful until we too live with nature in the present above time.
Let us now collect the offering.
Despite what your order of service says, today is our monthly special plate collection for social service, social action. And our organization that we're asking you to support today is the Interfaith Power and Light organization. As you may remember, we voted as a congregation to be a member congregation of Interfaith Power and Light. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about them and the work that we would be supporting through your donation today and throughout the month of April. The mission of Interfaith Power and Light is to inspire and mobilize people of faith and conscience to take bold and just action on climate change. The vision that we share with the organization is a stable climate where humans live in right and just relationship, interconnected with a healthy, thriving natural world. Interfaith Power and Light inspires us, I think, to sort of continue to learn about the ways that we each can act. They make it sort of their living goals to live by inspiring and engaging people to understand the impact that humankind has had on the environment to date and how we can change that. Mobilizing people to take action now, working collaboratively, modeling shared leadership, and focusing on the common values of creating a world that will manage through this next phase of time, hopefully well. The history of this organization, just in case you're curious, started back in the 1990s in California by a couple of Episcopal reverends who sort of thought that this was a way to get people to think deeply about the relationship to the earth, since all faith communities are concerned about the relationship to the earth. And they sponsored the showing of Inconvenient Truth back in the early 2000s. And each year they now organize a week of climate action, faith-based climate action, and we are in that week right now by sponsoring a film, and that's what we will be showing at Fellowship Hour today. Obviously a very busy Fellowship Hour, but invite you to come to that film. It's called Common Ground, and it's basically how adopting some of the practices of indigenous peoples can help the soil of our world literally absorb more carbon, grow food more sustainably. So it's, I think, something most of us would be interested in learning about. By the way, if you don't happen to be able to stay this afternoon for the film, we have the rights to show it again between now and the end of the month. And if you're interested in another showing, please let Daveline Cooper know. She will be organizing more showings, okay? So last but not least, the message from Interfaith Power is food is an important part of our faith traditions, and it's the major faith tradition that it's faith traditions that call us to care for the earth. So therefore, growing our food sustainably and in a way that helps reduce carbon would be an important action for all of us. The main work of Interfaith Power and Light, in addition to this yearly sort of week of education, is helping people think in terms of your own actions, what you can do to reduce your carbon, what congregations can do to reduce our community's carbon, and finally, to think in terms of voting with climate issues in mind. So expect to hear from us more as we get closer to our election this fall. So I will wrap up with the climate blessing that Interfaith Power and Light is offering for this particular Earth Day tomorrow. We hold the earth. We hold brothers and sisters who suffer from storms and droughts intensified by climate change. We hold all species that suffer. We hold world leaders delegated to make decisions for life. We pray that the web of life may be mended through courageous actions to limit carbon emissions. We pray for right actions for adaptation and mitigation to help our already suffering Earth community. We pray that love and wisdom might inspire my actions and our actions as communities, so that we may, with integrity, look into the eyes of brothers and sisters and all beings and truthfully say, we are doing our part to care for them and the future of the children. May love transform us and our world with new steps towards life. Thank you.
That melody, A Psalm of Life, is a melody that's used to accompany a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow called A Psalm of Life. So somehow we snuck a little Longfellow in there. Emerson and Longfellow had a very complicated and troubled relationship, and they were highly critical of each other's poetry. So the title of the sermon today is Searching for the Oversoul, and I want to talk about Emerson's interest in Hinduism and the influence of Hindu philosophy on his philosophy. But before I begin, I want to explain to you that I tend to avoid the internet. I do have a Facebook account, but I never read it, and I certainly never post to it, and I don't indulge in any other social media. But yesterday, driving down from Maine, I stopped in Portland to visit a friend who is tech savvy, and he's been learning about ChatGPT. And to demonstrate it, he asked ChatGPT to write a song in the style of Dylan Buston. 3 seconds later, 8 stanzas, complete. Then he said, write a song about Dylan Buston. 4 seconds later, my whole life story in a ballad. And I'm telling you, I avoid the internet. I don't know where it's getting this information. Then he said, write a 10-page sermon for Unitarian Universalists on the relationship between Emerson and Hinduism. 5 seconds later, the sermon showed up on his screen. So I want to assure you that this is my sermon. It is not ChatGPT. I would like to speak, as I mentioned before, to the Unitarian side of our heritage and considering Emerson as an ancestor in a way. Emerson wrote the most memorable sentences in the English language, but he had trouble composing a coherent paragraph and was hopeless in a finished essay with thesis statement, argument, and conclusion. His essays are exercises in stream of consciousness, a term coined by his contemporary, the psychologist William James. Emerson was the most quoted American during the 20th century, nationally and internationally. His pithy sentences, or sentences attributed to him, are treated as proverbs lifted from context. For one example, hitch your wagon to a star, study hard and you'll go far. But Emerson did not write this sentence in this form. What he wrote was prompted by visiting the Souder Tide Mill in Quincy, which had recently been rebuilt following a fire. Today, this tidal mill is still standing in place. It is located on the Southern Artery and is open to the public after a community campaign in historic preservation. Back in 1856, however, on a tour in which he spoke at Loring Hall here in Hingham, the next day he gave a lecture in Quincy. And Emerson was given a tour of local sawmills and gristmills. And then he was inspired to write in an essay entitled American Civilization, published in 1862. I admire still more than the sawmill the skill which, on the seashore, makes the tide drive the wheels and grind corn, and which thus embraces the assistance of the moon. Now that is the wisdom of a man in every instance of his labor, to hitch his wagon to a star and see his chore done by the gods themselves. That is the way we are strong, by borrowing the might of the elements. Sometime later, some anonymous person altered this passage in common usage to hitch your wagon to a star, study hard, and you'll go far. Thus, Emerson's insight about the moon's gravitational pull was reduced to a bland cliche repeated at countless graduation ceremonies for generations. It was spoken at my high school graduation. Imagine a high school principal quoting accurately, "Hitch your wagon to a star and see your chore done by the gods themselves." This expression has taken on a new meaning during the past 20 years or so. In Hollywood, screenwriters will strive to attach themselves to an established celebrity, an actor or actress who can advance their career. The name they give this cynical practice is "hitch your wagon to a star." No doubt oblivious to Emerson and his career. To offer another example of Emerson's legacy being appropriated, I'll read from the essay Experience of 1844. "Leave me alone, and I should relish every hour and what it brought me, the potluck of the day, as heartily as the oldest gossip in the bar room. I am thankful for small mercies." To be thankful for small mercies is a traditional British figure of speech popularized by Sir Walter Scott, one of Emerson's favorite novelists. Here, Emerson introduced it to an American public, and it is often attributed to him as if he originated the saying. I have heard folks adamantly insist that he is the author. This is, as I say, another example of how his writings have entered the public domain and have become commonplace, even when erroneously quoted. Emerson begins his essay Experience in this way. Spirit is matter reduced to an extreme thinness. Oh, so thin. In this essay, he writes, "We are impatient of so public a life and planet, and run hither and thither for nooks and secrets. The imagination delights in the woodcraft of Indians, trappers, and bee hunters. We fancy that we are strangers and not so intimately domesticated in the planet as the wild man and the wild beast and bird. But the exclusion reaches them also, reaches the climbing, flying, gliding, feathered, and four-footed man. Fox and woodchuck, hawk and snipe and bittern, when nearly seen, have no more root in the deep world than man, and are just such superficial tenants of the globe. And then the new molecular philosophy shows astronomical interspaces betwixt atom and atom, shows that the world is all outside. It has no inside." This conclusion that the world has no inside was a real crisis, prompted by current progress in sciences of ethnology, biology, and chemistry. Emerson eventually solved the problem, in effect, by flipping his assumption that spirit is matter reduced to an extreme thinness, to matter is spirit expanded to an extreme thickness. Elsewhere, he wrote, matter is a phenomenon. It's all right that the world is all outside if that exterior is immaterial, not only spiritual, but infused with consciousness and emotion. Thus, he came to his concept of the oversouled. And there is a reading in the hymnal from the Oversoul. I'll just read a section, not as a responsive reading. But if you want to read along, it's 531. I'll read part of it. There is deep power in which we exist and whose beatitude is accessible to us. Every moment when the individual feels invaded by it is memorable. It comes to the lowly and the simple. It comes to whosoever will put off what is foreign and proud. It comes as insight. It comes as serenity and grandeur. The soul's health consists in the fullness of its reception. Forever and ever the influx of this better and more universal self is new and unsearchable. Within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. When it breaks through our intellect, it is genius. When it breathes through our will, it is virtue. When it flows through our affections, it is love. The Oversoul seems to suggest some influence from India and the Hindu concept of the Brahman, the living ground of all existence and all life and death, the progenitor of the three primary male gods, Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. It is true that in the Unitarian Church in India today, Emerson is revered as a saint. And surprisingly, perhaps, they would say that in the contemporary religion, the influence is mutual, that in envisioning the ultimate Godhead, they have taken more from Emerson than he borrowed from their 19th century forebears. The young Emerson had a guide and tutor in all things, his aunt, Mary Moody Emerson. While he was still a student at Harvard College, she urged him to read the writings of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, a current social reformer in India and the first Swami to visit the United States. And she urged him to attend his lecture when he visited Cambridge. Emerson was also introduced to Hinduism by his father, a Unitarian minister in Boston, who recommended that he read the Bhagavad Gita. The influence may be seen many years later in the first verse of the poem Brahma, which Jacqueline and I did as the introit. That poem says, if the red slayer thinks that he slays, or if the slain thinks that he is slain, they know not well the subtle ways I keep and pass and turn again. Whereas the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita contains the following lines: who believes him a slayer and who thinks him slain, both these understand not. He slays not, he is not slain. Emerson's poem Brahma was published in the Atlantic Monthly magazine in 1847, and Emerson was roundly ridiculed for being an obscure mystic. His daughter Ellen came to him and said, words to these effect. Dad, all my friends are making fun of you. They say you're mad. And he said to his daughter, tell them to replace the word Brahma with the word Jehovah, and all will make perfect sense. The philosopher David Chalmers refers to subjective self-consciousness as the hard problem of science. How to solve it? You know, in that first piece we did, it mentions the ether. There has long been a theory in science for centuries that there cannot be a void. There cannot be a pure vacuum. There has to be something that can affect action at a distance. And for centuries, that was called the ether. Science has come around. Astrophysicists will now say that all matter is infused with consciousness. That if you take atomic particles, put them together in molecules, put them together in cells, put them together in organisms, eventually mammals, eventually human beings, once that matter becomes complex enough, it will illustrate subjective self-consciousness. Consciousness is inherent in matter. Last summer, there was a cover story in Scientific American, and the title was, Does Consciousness Pervade the Universe? And I've also recently read a book by Philip Goff, who's a philosopher, say, Galileo's Error, Foundations of a New History of Consciousness. And the third big book right now in astrophysics is by Paul Churchland. It's called Matter and Consciousness. So there's this growing, swelling consensus amongst rigorously trained, university-based experimental physicists that consciousness itself pervades the universe. What do they call this? One word that astrophysicists are currently using is panpsychism. It's also known as integrated information theory, the anthropic principle, or quantum mind. But I'm to tell you that nearly 200 years ago, Emerson had the answer. He called it the Oversoul. The final hymn will be number 44.
Please join me in extinguishing the chalice of course in your Lord's service. We extinguish this flame,
but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Benediction, let us all say together. Hitch your wagon to a star. Study hard and you'll go far.